a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
This segment is sponsored by Debonair Cigars. Visit stogiegeeks.com/Debonair for a list of retailers who carry Debonair. Buy some today and get a little more at Debonair. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Of course, I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, joined on the lines via Skype by Mr. Will Cooper.
Hello.
Apollo's, he's running around. He was just making a fresh round of cocktails for us. I really want him involved in this conversation. As I think, visiting cigar shops, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight, is extremely important for us veteran cigar smokers, for new cigar smokers. I think it's just all around a great topic to discuss.
I totally agree, because if you look at that's the fabric of everything we do as cigar enthusiasts. That's really the hub.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to a cigar shop, you get an actual person that helps you choose the cigar you're going to smoke. The things that you buy at that brick and mortar store, they're going to stand behind it. So if I get a cigar that's plugged, I know I can go back to my local retailers, and there's probably 4 of them here locally in Rhode Island that I have a really good relationship with. I know that anything I buy there, they're going to stand behind. In the 4 shops here they're just awesome. They're awesome. One of them I visited, and there was the inspiration for this segment. And we'll talk about cigars. But one of them locally here in Rhode Island I stopped at, and it's not far away in Rhode Island, but it's not on my normal path of travel, even during the week or even on weekends. So I don't get to stop there as often as I would have liked. And they recently just expanded and have a lounge section. This is Regency Cigars, Will.
Okay.
And so I stopped down there because I've been on vacation. So I kind of went a little bit out of my normal path to stop there. Not that it's that far, but again, the other 3 shops, while I'm doing my errands, I can stop there and then continue doing my errands. That's how lucky I am to have these, 3 shops, and the 4th one's a little farther. But I stopped at Regency, and Tyler, he's awesome. He's a young guy. He's always working when I go in there. I mean, the guy must be nothing but working that shop during the day, which is great. And like I said, they just expanded to a lounge. The lounge is absolutely beautiful. And I kind of get to thinking, like, what do you want to do when you visit a shop? What questions you want to ask about cigars? But not only that, cigar shops tend to diversify a little bit. And like one of the interesting things I found was that this particular shop had diversified to carry Benchmade knives. Now, Benchmade makes Benchmade, did I say that right? Benchmade, thank you. Benchmade makes a really awesome knife. And in fact, I have a Benchmade, and had I known they would carry them, or I just forgot that they carried them, I would have bought them there. He's like, dude, if you ever have a problem with your knife, he's like, whether you bought it here or not, he's like, bring it back in the store. We'll take care of it for you. I'm like, that's really cool. So they kind of diversify into the other things that maybe cigar smokers would appreciate. Certainly a pocket knife is certainly. I don't know if you watch NCIS. You ever watch NCIS?
I try not to.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good show. But one of the senior agents is always like, you need to carry a pocket knife. It's like Rule 27, always carry a pocket knife, no matter what. And that's kind of a rule that I take into account too. So I try and find, to speak to the Debonair Ideal segments, maybe we'll do one just on pocket knives, because I've amassed quite a collection of them.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but I do, one of my everyday carries is a Benchmade, so.
We used to have, there actually is a knife, there used to be a knife and cigar shop in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And actually it wasn't far from the Mooresville area. It was in Huntersville.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Huntersville.
Yeah, but they have a new owner and they don't do the knives anymore.
Interesting.
Yep.
So I thought that was cool. And it got to thinking that, whether you're buying a cigar or whether you're buying a lighter or a cutter or a knife or whatever else the cigar shop is selling, they're going to stand behind their product. And that's just one reason of many to support your local brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, It really is, and when you build a relationship with your tobacconist, you know, and they get to know your palate, they could really help you out, And I don't find a lot, I mean, obviously they all want to sell cigars, but I find there's a lot of these good tobacconists, they know their customers on a personal basis.
Right.
And when they get something, being this is it's a what's new industry, not everyone's a geek and keeping up on news, but when they come into the shop, they can be introduced to something and they can learn about what it is from your tobacconist.
Well, and what's interesting too, Will, a lot of times I'll go into a shop, and all the shops carry different lines. And after interviewing Scott Colasaire, I said that right? Scott
Yep.
Colasaire. He's the brand manager for Avo and Zeno. And Zeno's kind of hard to find, Will, around here in some of the local shops.
Here too.
Yeah, so when I went to New One, I told Tyler, I'm like, I interviewed Scott. I said, I really want to pick up some more Zeno. And he had a particular Zeno cigar that I bought, which was really expensive. It was $35 for the cigar.
Oh, wow.
But you just can't find them around here. And I said, I really want to kind of go back and try some of those. And he was actually sold out of a lot of the other Zenos that I had bought there in the past. So having that relationship, like Will said, is extremely important. And asking the right questions, too. When you go into a cigar shop for the first time, I'd love to talk to the, how long you been in business, and I like to ask them two other questions. Basically, what does your clientele like to smoke? And then, what cigars that you've got in new? And not necessarily what's new in the cigar industry, Will.
But what's new in the store?
What's new in the store? And I asked that of Tyler, and he was like, "Oh, we got a Fire." And I'm like, oh, my God, you have got a Fire. I'm like, that's awesome. So I picked up a couple of got a Fires from him. Now, that's not a new cigar in any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very rare cigar, and not a lot of other shops. I mean, not a lot of shops in the world will carry got a Fire, right? I mean, it's a very rare. I mean, we did a segment earlier, which you'll see in Stogie Geek Shorts on Arturo Fuente. Got a Fire is a pretty rare cigar.
Yeah, there's limiteds, and then there's the ultra limiteds, and that's in that definite ultra limited category.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, great, now we've got this great new selection to choose from. And I might not have known that had I not had that conversation with your retailer. So, I think we've done other segments about what questions should the retailer ask of its customers, but this is kind of in reverse. What questions should the customer ask of the retailer was kind of what to go in this segment.
Yeah, it was one, when I was, Viaje was always something that I like to smoke, and I want to review them. And what was great is I had a local tobacconist who, when Viaje came in, hey, he right away said, that Viaje order's in. Or he made sure he always held a couple for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just little things like
nice.
that. So if you're looking for those Fuente Añejos, there's things if you're looking for that. And here's another thing. A really good tobacconist, let's say they carry Fuente, but there may be one regular production size that they don't have, or, they just don't have a facing for it. In a lot of cases, that they may be able to, they'll order it for you if they're allowed to. Some stuff they have to have a certain buying level and they can't. But for a regular production cigar, if you're looking for, we were talking about the Candelas earlier. Maybe your retailer doesn't have that Fuente Candela, but they could certainly pick up the phone and call that Fuente rep and order you one.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll order a box and they'll let you buy some out of the box, and then they'll sell the rest of the box to their customers and kind of test the waters. I can't tell you how many times Paul Joyle has done that for me. I'm like, dude, I really want this one cigar. He's like, I don't have it. And I'm like, dude, don't go order in a box just for me. I'm like, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably not going to buy a box. I just want to try a few of them. And, 9 times out of 10, he'll be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll order the box. He's like, if it's something that you're looking for and he kind of knows my palate, he's like, I'll bring it in. He's like, you can buy a couple and we'll see what the other members think about it. And a lot of times he'll blow through that box in no time. Now, sometimes it'll become a regular cigar, and I'm not saying my palate is the definition of all of his clientele, but a lot of times there's enough overlap between my palate and a lot of other customers of shops where they'll be that one box they know they can go through. And if they're in a situation, like you said, Will, where they can order just a box and there's no minimum order, they'll do that for you, which is nice because a lot of times when you order online, you're going to pay shipping, first and foremost. So ordering one cigar online doesn't make any sense. The next minimum buy-in is $5, which, if it's a $10 cigar, now I'm $50 to try a cigar plus shipping. You know, because
Yep.
a lot of times they don't waive shipping for just $50 for you just 5 cigars. You know, they're only waiving it for a box purchase. And if again, I'm trying. I want to see what I like. Your local brick and mortar, Will, I think, is the perfect place to try out cigars.
Yeah, and when you're trying that cigar, maybe that retailer ordered for you, and you're smoking it in the lounge, other people see that and they go, "Hey, what are you
Hey,
smoking?"
what are you smoking? And you're like,
Hey,
yeah, this is something I
let me
want
try
to
one.
try.
Let me try one of those. Yeah. So I mean, it kind of works for that in favor of them too. So
Absolutely.
and a good retailer will see that.
Yep. So I tend to ask about aged or vintage cigars as well. And that can be a tough conversation. If you don't know exactly what you're looking for and it's not something they carry, it can kind of go south quick. But if you build a reputation with a cigar retail shop, I think it's a much easier question to ask. Going in blind and just coming in saying, like, you don't know me, I don't know you. Hey, you know, like, what's your old and vintage cigars you got in your humidor? They're going to be like, they might be taken back by it. So it takes a little kind of social engineering. But shops that I have a relationship with, I'm like, so what haven't you been able to sell? Like, what's been sitting around that you're just not moving? Or, you know, what do you got laying around? Like, I know you're a big XYZ manufacturer and you've been an account with them for a long time. Like, do you have any 5-year-old, 10-year-old stuff from them? Like, I'm willing to buy it, kind of thing. So I've kind of leveraged some of those relationships, Will, with some of those, you know, retailers. Next door, certainly, I go in the Havana Club. I mean, they have the luxury of being a new shop, so all of their inventory is electronically tagged and controlled. So I'm like, dude, what's the oldest thing you got in humidor? And like, through some queries on the computer, they can figure it out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy a couple of those. And if I like it, I'll go back and buy the box kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because age is huge. I've got some vintage Avo stuff, dude, from Mr. J's on a smoke shop. They're like, I'm getting down to, like, I smoked through a whole damn box of it. And I'm like, I got to get, like, there's no way to get more of it. Like, it's just, you know, it's old Avo classics, dude. And I'm like, they're so good. And it was only because I had the relationship with the retailer that I was able to find that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think of the story again when Stogie Santa found out how much I love the Avo LE10. He says, I got somebody sitting in the back room, and I bought every box they had. So, I mean, because you can't get them anymore. And I said, I'll take them off your hands right now. I mean, done.
Yeah,
and
that helps them, and it helps you, which is
Yeah.
nice. It's a two-way street. So.
Yep. Sometimes it's worth hunting down the vintage stuff. Like, I know everyone wants to hunt down the new limited releases.
Yeah.
Hunting down the vintage stuff could be, it's more challenging, but it could also be more rewarding.
And, dude, I've been knocking it out of the park with Avo lately because their lines just went through a refresh. So, as Scott said, they've discontinued some of the sizes, and they've redone all of the packaging. So retailers are trying to unload the older packaging for the newer packaging.
Good deal.
Now, the newer cigars are awesome. I mean, they're every bit as good as the older ones, right? But the older ones just have some age on them. So I've been scooping up some of the older stuff, and it's just been awesome. I bought some Avo Classics and some Avo XO stuff online at a pretty good discount. And, you know, that's a different scenario. Like, I know that I like these certain lines, and that's when I tend to turn to online to say, like, I know my local brick and mortars, I've already cleaned them out, and I know they don't have that stuff in stock, so then I'll turn to online and be like, okay, I'm going to go try and find some of that stuff, and if it's a good price, I'll order it. So I've been cleaning those out. So, and dude, I've been smoking a ton of Avo.
I tell you, it's
a ton of it.
How great was it having Scott on the show?
It was awesome.
I mean, it was a real, I mean, he just knows the line, and I tell you what, it's a great brand.
And
really is.
I tell you what, too, if you like to fish or golf, those Avo XO and Avo Classic tubos are perfect.
They really
you can
are.
stick them in your pocket, right? They don't get banged around. Like, a tubo is a great thing to have when you're doing those activities. And I went fishing. Well, I think I smoked 2 Avo XOs and an Avo Classic, and they're all in the tubos, right? They're all like in my pocket, not getting damaged because they're in the tube. I gave one to my brother-in-law, and so it's an easy smoking cigar that you can have at any time of day. Both of those blends, so.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, and they've done it. I think the refresh is going to do real good for them too. They've streamlined it a bit, which is kind of. On one hand, it's unfortunate, but I think on the other hand, it's gonna probably give them more shelf space in the humidors.
Yeah, and I tell you what, all of the retailers that I talked about all have that new branded Avo the tubos and packaging, which is just gorgeous. And the fresh ones smoke so much differently than the aged ones that I'm finding I'm stocking my humidor with both.
Yeah. The first thing I heard is when those came out is these don't taste the same, and it's gonna happen with a newer cigar, and it's probably when its vintage is changed, it's gonna happen. But
Absolutely.
you'll age them, they'll be Avo. Trust me.
And I tell you what, that fresh Avo Classic or Avo XO has that really herbal, grassy flavor. Really wakes up your palate. I really like it. I've made a complete 180. I just love it. And then the aged stuff, it tones down those herbal, grassy flavors. So it's almost like having two different cigars.
It is, and then you'll see some of the complexity come out as some of that herbal grass stuff kind of not dissipates but diminishes somewhat.
So yeah, that was really all I wanted to say about. A couple of tips when you go into a lounge or a cigar shop and you're going to stay and have a cigar. Make sure you buy a cigar and smoke. You don't have to necessarily smoke that cigar, but when you go into a lounge or a cigar shop and you're going to have a smoke, buy at least one cigar from them.
Oh yeah.
You want to keep cigar etiquette, right?
It's etiquette, and they got to keep the lights on for you to
Right.
smoke there. So you got to keep them in business.
And like I said, you can always find something that you want to try in a local cigar shop.
That's what I was just going to say. Exactly. They have good selection, especially there's more choices than ever right now.
Absolutely. Well, very good. That's our Debonair Ideal segment for this evening. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about Stogies of the Week coming up next.